Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Cook Podcast. This is episode 10. We're really excited to bring you this episode with the owner of Picante. She is a wife, mom, and entrepreneur who started a food truck and is now in her own brick and mortar restaurant. She's been in the industry for 4 years, and those 4 years have been full of hard work, growth, and passion. Hope you guys enjoy the episode. If you guys are looking for something to do for Valentine's Day, you guys want to try something new, something different, right here's a spot, Picante. We're collabing, so the secret's out. We're collabing on this very special event, so you guys can bring your loved one, your partner, and you guys can share a steak. So right here we have a ribeye, a prime ribeye. And is this the Wagyu one?
Yes.
Yeah, so the Wagyu one's right here. And then do you want to name the other place that we have?
Yeah, so the steaks are going to be paired with red potato, bread mashed potatoes.
Oh, for the
and
sides?
Yep.
Nice.
And then for the vegetable, we'll be doing a broccolini, and it'll just be seasoned simple, so just salt and pepper. And then, so that's going to be the steak meal, and you'll have two options: the ribeye, like you mentioned, and then we'll do the 4-star Wagyu. And then for pastas, we're going to be doing shrimp spicy chipotle pasta. Super
Sounds
good.
crazy good.
And then we'll be doing, for the chicken lovers, chicken poblano pasta.
Nice.
And then along the side of that, we'll be having some desserts like the strawberries. So we'll have mazapan with white chocolate, vanilla, and then the tamarindo and tajin and dubalin. And then we're going to also have some tres leches churro style donut holes as well.
Dang, those look insane over there.
Yeah.
And just if you guys don't know, not a lot of places serve Wagyu. I don't know if there is one place that serves Wagyu in Tri-Cities.
No.
Not
No.
that
I've been
heard
to
of.
all the steakhouses.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. Me too. So,
Okay.
but I was just making sure.
Yeah, I haven't
'Cause
seen it on the. I
know
haven't
that
seen it.
That you're in the food industry too, so
Yes.
I know if anybody would know, I think you would know
Yeah.
for sure.
No, if we want a good Wagyu, we'd probably. I hit Metropolitan in Seattle.
In Seattle, huh? Seattle, they have some good spots over there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
lots.
But this is the first time that somebody's gonna collab with us that is a restaurant. So we're excited. We're definitely excited to be able to do that, and I think people will have a good time. People are gonna enjoy their steak for sure.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that made us nervous about moving forward with this was the fact that this is out of our menu. This is not within our comfort.
Yeah.
But what does help is that I have a lot of strong arms in the kitchen who actually worked in steakhouses, so they know how to cook up a good steak. And then on top of that, I know just from experience that a lot of places get booked out. So it's really hard to get last minute places that are nice, that are serving a nice steak. And so
Yeah.
we want to be able to be that option for people who can't make it out to a winery or.
I think that's super cool too. That's definitely providing a service and a quality service too.
Yeah.
Because making steaks is not easy.
Oh,
And then
no.
pairing it up with sides and having a good dessert too, that's not easy.
Yeah.
Being in the food industry is not easy at all.
No.
either. But I think this is going to be a really big hit. I think you guys are going to definitely have a full house and definitely something to look forward to. Should we plate up?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
All right, let's do it. Go ahead and get a bite of the Wagyu.
Okay.
You got some Wagyu on your plate, right?
I do.
All right. Nah, yeah, that hits.
Salt, pepper, medium rare.
That's all I need. So talking about Wagyu, when was like the first time that you ever tried Wagyu? What was your first Wagyu experience?
To be honest with you, I don't think I'll ever forget. But Metropolitan in Seattle,
Yeah.
snow beef. Snow beef Wagyu.
Okay.
So it's like the top. I didn't know what they were ordering, so we just went. It was kind of like a celebratory first time that we were in a really fancy restaurant, you know. And it was a group of us, and they have a sampler of all the Wagyus that they have, and so they brought that out, and I saw the meat, and I was, I went ahead and got a piece, and I was blown away. It was the most tender piece of meat I had ever tasted. And the only way to describe it was I didn't even have to chew it. It like melted.
Yep.
And it was just perfectly cooked. It was so well seasoned. It was just perfect. So snow beef Wagyu Metropolitan. And I did research on it. And I found out that their farm is actually on the upper side of Japan. So one of my goals is to go and hopefully Japan next year for 2026.
Yeah, and for the people that don't know, it's good for cows to be in snow and like cold.
Yes.
Because they eat more.
Yes, and they marbleize more, and the temperature just like amplifies that flavor. And they're also black cows, the ones that they have at that
Japanese
farm.
Wagyu black. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's what makes Japanese Wagyu so different too. Is because of the weather conditions and the elevation that they're at.
Yeah.
It tenderizes the beef and it marbleizes the beef even more than, let's say, an Australian Wagyu or an American Wagyu. Not only are they crossbreeds in those two countries, but the Japanese, they just have like customs and traditions that they've been following for years and years.
Oh
like
yeah.
Thousands of years, pretty much.
Yeah.
So that's kind of hard to compete with too.
I bet. The Australian Wagyu, your guys's was the first one I ever tried from that style.
Yeah. And what do you think about the Australian Wagyu?
I liked it, but to be honest with you, nothing beats the Japanese for me.
Yeah.
The Japanese
I agree.
Wagyu. Yeah.
I agree for sure. The Japanese Wagyu, I would probably say it is like best experience like in smaller portions for sure.
Yes.
Because it is pretty rich too.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure.
So what else do we have to try?
So we have the ribeye. That one, I think it's the number one favored steak, right? At steakhouses.
Yeah. The prime ribeye. Even the prime ribeye is kind of hard to find too.
But it's chewy, meaty. And we're going to be doing a different approach with the seasoning on that one. So that one's going to have a little bit of kind of that traditional Mexican seasoning on it.
That's perfect.
Very light.
Yeah. I like that. And then this pasta, you said it was kind of spicy?
This one's a spicy chipotle with shrimp.
Yeah, that's really good. That's super good.
Not heavy.
I like the queso that's in there too.
The queso
I
fresco.
think it adds a little bit of a different twist. Yeah, for sure.
And then we have broccolini. You said you've never tried broccolini?
I've never tried broccolini. I think this is my first time.
It's a fancy broccoli. Different, earthy.
I like it. I think I like it a little bit better than asparagus.
So we were contemplating on we had 3 veggies, so 4, because we were playing around with green beans, carrots, broccolini, and asparagus. Asparagus is the most traditional that goes with it. But what I wanted on the plate was crunchy texture.
Nice.
And so for me, the broccolini did it. But we cooked all of them, and at the end, that one won.
Do you think you're like a texture person?
No.
No?
But when I think about a plate, you know, you think about, I'm a foodie at heart. So when I think about a plate, I think not just about the different flavors that come together, but I also think about the different textures.
Yeah.
Right? And so like the mashed potatoes, they're not completely pureed. So they have a little bit of texture in them. Yeah. Are you a
That's good.
texture person?
Well, in terms of meat, I can distinguish like cuts and textures. But everything else, I don't really think about it like that, no.
Okay.
But I think that's a really good perspective that you have for sure. Wow, those are really creamy too. Those are good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like everything. I think this is really good. People are going to love this.
We're excited about it.
Yeah, and then we're going to be doing like a collab video and a collab post too, leading up to that, so people can get excited and we can really introduce and go maybe a little bit more in depth of what is in the menu too.
Oh yeah. Menu's getting finalized, so I should be having that by next week. So
Nice.
yeah, stay tuned.
There you go.
So this right here is the stuffed tres leches donut holes, but they are churro style. So they have the sugar cinnamon for that texture part on the outside.
Ooh, that crunchy.
Yeah.
Crunchiness of the cinnamon.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. That's really good. I have like a big sweet tooth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you'll love the strawberries then.
Yeah, I love desserts.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have some pretty unique ones on the menu. I don't know if you've tried like our fried PB&J.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I love that.
You'll never want a PB&J the same after that.
Because I'm a big like peanut butter person too.
Okay.
Like I love peanut butter. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, then the mazapan strawberries are going to be yours for sure.
Yeah, so we have mazapan, and then you said this one is...
The tamarindo with tajin.
Okay.
And then we have the dubalin.
Nice. Mm-hmm. I think we'll just try one.
You know which one you're going to go for? Those are the mazapan in the middle, yeah. Okay. And I think I'm going to do... I'll try one. You don't need to eat this. Yeah, I was going to say the little rose.
The mazapan one is super good.
Very rich. Mm-hmm. I'm not such a sweet person. Mm-hmm. I'm more of a spicy, salty, savory.
Yeah.
So for me, like that one bite, that's like all I need on that. But that vanilla white chocolate that we chose to go with the mazapan, it's so creamy.
Yeah, I love the creativeness too.
Thank you.
Yeah. You can't just like go to a restaurant and have these kind of desserts.
No.
Right?
No, I think that's what I try to do a little bit different here is that, you know, I would want to put out what we would want if we go somewhere. And so we really try to get feedback and I also stay active and going out and seeing what's out there as well, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can really see the passion too that you have for it too.
Thank you. And some of these ideas, I mean, they're not all mine. So, like the donut holes, I mean, my head chef in the kitchen, he comes up with that too. Mm-hmm. And I just put my twist, I just put my sense, and yeah. So I have a really good crew.
That's good.
Yeah.
Let's start from the very beginning, because I know you said you're a foodie and you really love what you guys do, cooking and serving different experiences for people. We love that. I think that's always going to set your business apart in anywhere you go.
For
when
sure.
you love what you do, when you have a passion, and when you're always looking like, what would I want to see in this city, in this community? Like, I think that is definitely what makes your place stand out.
Thank you.
And I've heard nothing but good things about Picante.
Thank you.
So that's huge, you know? You're really inspiring others to do different things too, all the time.
Appreciate it.
So how did it start?
So how did it start? Well, we started as a food truck, but the way that presented itself was, so at the time I was actually working as a full-time therapist at a local nonprofit here. And one of our friends approached me and said, hey, I have this food truck. I don't know what to do with it. you like to cook and we like to eat your food. Do you want to give it a shot? And
That's crazy.
At that point, I started thinking about different factors in my life at that moment because I already had my career. I was already working towards my licensure to get in eventually into like my own practice, private practice. But I thought about like my mom. I thought about the fact that cooking for me had became like my self-care. And I just tune out like when I'm in the kitchen. Like nothing else around me is there. Like it's a weird euphoric feeling. And so at the moment I just thought to myself, I think I need to give it a shot because at the end of the day, I don't believe another opportunity like this will ever present itself. And so I said, let's try it out and let's make it happen.
Well, that's crazy. So what kind of therapist were you?
Mental health.
Oh, okay. Mental health therapist. Okay.
So at the time, I mean, my whole background was pretty much in mental health. Obviously before I got into that, but after I got into that. But yeah, I worked at like psychiatric units for CADLEC. I worked at a homeless teen shelter that I ran for about 5 going on 6 years. And then like school districts, and eventually ended up at a nonprofit working with families and teenagers and kids.
That's so cool.
Different.
Yeah, very different too. How big of a step do you think was it to make that transition? Like, do you think it was a big risk? I mean, I would consider it to be a huge risk.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It wasn't because it came out of the blue. I was already working towards my licensure. I was already starting that process. And so when it presented itself, it was like, whoa, do I shift gears? And I started talking to my colleagues at the time, and they're therapists. So they started asking me therapy questions, And then I started talking to like my family about it, and I got mixed feedback. So some people would say, well, why do you want to risk it? You already have a career. You already graduated with your master's. You can go on to your PhD and you're set. Like you're already doing what everybody would want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
While others were saying, oh, hell no, jump on it. Like this is an opportunity. Like at the end of the day, you're not given many of those. And so if you want to make it happen, like make it happen. But there was a lot of like just pulling me in different directions. Like, are you sure you're going to do it? What if it doesn't work out? But that was the thing, is I wasn't scared for it not working out because I have my education to fall back on, and no one will ever take that from me. So I knew that I was comfortable trying something. And if you know me, you know that I'm always starting something new. I love projects. I love innovating things. And so this was just one of those things.
That's so cool. That's
Yeah.
so cool. So that was around almost 5 years ago?
Yeah, 6 years ago, yeah.
Nice. And so even the transition from the food truck to this restaurant, that's huge, right?
Yes.
So the food truck journey versus the restaurant journey, what do you think is like the biggest difference there?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Volume, staffing, challenges that present itself. It's on a whole different scale. And to be honest with you, had I started in a brick and mortar before the food truck, Picante wouldn't be here.
Wow.
Yeah, I can say that like 100% that I wouldn't be here because the food truck opened January 13th of 2019, and February COVID hit.
Yep.
So restaurants were shut down.
Yep.
Dining experiences with food in general, where you ate in your car.
To go.
So so that was huge. And then me not having a background as a business owner in the food industry, starting out as a food truck allowed me to dab into it and to play around with the food and to introduce what I wanted and see if people were going to grasp onto it and enjoy it and actually run with it. And so it was really nice starting in such a comfortable spot with the COVID happening, all these challenges happening for businesses, and then all of a sudden food trucks are the only ones that can be open. And so it was a beautiful way that it all happened.
Yeah. It's definitely a tough time to start a restaurant during that time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of places that started and a lot of places that were established ended up closing down.
Yep.
Yes.
It was like a big turning point, I think, for the nation as a whole in terms of like businesses and economy and stuff like that. But what do you think is like the biggest challenge that you faced opening your restaurant?
Um, so we didn't have a big track record when we were thinking about transitioning. And so originally when I looked at locations, I looked into like the mall because they had a
Okay.
bunch of vacant spots.
Yep.
But when I started getting more curious about that location and what they were going to require and everything, it was a lot that they were
It is a
requiring for a
lot,
business
yeah.
to make, especially the food businesses there.
Yes.
And so with me not having a track record, they started asking, other additional questions around like, do I even think I could make it in there? But set that aside, then I started looking at the fact that like our mall's not upgraded. We
Yeah.
don't have a huge attraction to our mall. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of outdated. And so one of the biggest things I thought to myself was, are people gonna actually get off their car, come into the mall to dine and eat, or are they just gonna eat here when they're here because of other reasons?
Yeah.
And with all those little questions in mind, I said it's not gonna work there. So then I looked at the little plaza that was opening in front of the mall, and we applied there, and we got turned down because again we didn't have track record. But then found out that they wanted franchises. They didn't want local businesses in that plaza.
That's crazy too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this location, we actually came to eat, and something was off because we would always come in here, and the food was off, the presentation was off, everything was off, and I said something's happening. So we made a phone call at that very moment. And it happened to be the same person that presented the food truck business to me.
That's crazy.
And came to find out that it was closing. And I said, I want this spot. And it was kind of a full circle moment because the very first time I ever came into this building, it was a Mexican restaurant. And it was called Don Antonio's. And
Yeah.
they served molcajetes. And it was the best molcajete I ever had in the Tri-Cities. And so me and my little brother would come in here and eat molcajetes all the time. And I didn't even know I had a patio. And we were sitting here at that table over there. And I was like, this is a perfect taqueria. I love the size. I love the intimacy. Everything about it was just like, it just felt like a little paradise
Yeah.
in Tri-Cities. And I can't really find
I
that.
see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
just it was a
definitely-
full circle moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I like that. It's not easy to pick locations at all.
No.
I think it's one of the biggest decisions that you can make that can make or break your business.
Yeah.
A location. But I think it's something that kind of comes naturally, like both of your locations came, right?
Yes.
Like something that's like a calling, like this is a spot.
Exactly.
I think everybody has that moment.
And you just
right?
know.
Yeah, you just know.
yeah.
It's like, this is it.
Yeah.
And then there's like a weight off of your shoulders once you find the location too, because now you can think, oh, like, where do I want to place the bar? Where do I want to place the seating?
Yes.
Where do I want to place the kitchen? And like how you can start envisioning that. And then that weight of where it's going to be at in Tri-Cities is off your shoulders.
Yeah,
Right?
definitely.
So you can focus on other things, the menu.
And Tri-Cities isn't that big. Like,
Yeah.
if you really think about it, traveling distance, with traffic, I mean, 20 to 30 minutes from one point to the opposite side. But even then, like, you're going to travel that distance to eat something that you
Right.
want,
Yeah, of course.
or that experience you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, people go to your butcher shop from all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank God. It's definitely a blessing. It's
No, I
definitely
hear
a
you.
blessing for sure. What is the most popular item that people eat here?
Birria.
Birria?
So the birria is the number one taco seller, the cheesy birria. Second, you start getting into like the asada taco, and then but tacos seem to be the most popular. Yeah, the cheesy birria is by far the most killer. We sold 14,500 tacos, cheesy birria tacos last year.
That's crazy. These are it, right?
Yes, those
so
are
they
it.
know?
Yes, so they know.
And
And
those look
here
delicious.
we serve it with consomme. A lot of places that I've gone, you have to ask for that on the side and pay extra. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah, and ours is beef. I know a lot of people are probably gonna start, the whole birria is sheep and goat or whatever.
Yeah.
But yes, traditionally it started like that. But the only reason why is because that's the animal that they had, and to mask that game taste, they made the adobo and they marinated it, and that's how birria started. But here, people prefer beef.
Yes. All the way.
So we went with beef.
Yeah. I would agree. And they're very delicious. I've had them before.
Thank you.
Definitely. There's a big reason why they're the most popular,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So how much of your Hispanic/Mexican background inspired this? Obviously, this is a Mexican restaurant, but maybe you can point out certain menu items or
I think
things like that.
So you're asking like what was the inspiration for the restaurant, or like
the business as a whole?
the business as a whole? Well, I think my biggest motivator at the time was my mom. Once you move out of your parents' house, you tend to interact with them less. Unless you work with them, unless you do something that brings you guys together, right? Like, of course, we had family gatherings and things where I would see her, but at the time, I just thought to myself, like, if I open this business, I'm gonna be in the kitchen with her. I'm gonna learn from her, and that wasn't something that I did younger. Growing up when we all lived together. And that's an interesting story in itself, but I didn't pick up on those kitchen little recipes that she has, even though she doesn't write anything down. Everything's like by the pinch and by the taste, and she has no recipes.
Everything's off of feel.
Yes. And it's, there's a lot that goes into that aspect of it, but it was a way for me to connect more with her on a deeper level. And growing up, like we always, even if we didn't have and we weren't well off, food was never something. Our parents really taught us like how to appreciate it. And it didn't matter if it was the Wagyu steak or if it was just, a meat that you picked up from somewhere, like, or we went and hunted it ourselves. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like we appreciated that we had that. And so the power of food was really something that my mom and my dad really instilled in us. And it brings people together. It's just the centerpiece to everything, your nourishment, your gatherings. And I wanted to kind of bring that into light through the business.
Definitely. I think food brings people together all the time. I mean, usually first dates, second dates, you're going to take them out to eat.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people don't think about it like that, but that's what brings a lot of people together, eating together. I think it's a very, I guess you could say, sacred thing to eat with somebody.
Yeah.
Like if you have a business meeting, sometimes you take them out to eat, or let me buy you lunch.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
usually any gathering is over something you're consuming, like a food, right? Yeah. And I think it's a language in itself.
Yes.
It really is. And we have people from all walks of life come here. Europe. I mean, it's really, really interesting, the people we have come here, and they're literally on their way to the airport, or they're driving through from one point to another, and they're here. And it's like, you have an accent. Where are you from? And they love Mexican food, so that's why they're stopping by. But yeah, I think my mom was definitely a big inspiration behind that.
And you guys are from Colima?
Yes, Manzanillo.
Nice.
Yeah. So my dad's from Jalisco.
Nice.
Yeah, Manzanillo's all along the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
So you have fresh seafood there. We don't have a lot of seafood here on our menu, but the reason why is because we don't have fresh seafood. I'm not going to put out something that I'm not going to be able to source, and I'm not going to be able to keep consistently.
Yeah.
And so if ever there was another Picante 2 in Colima, Manzanillo, then that'll be a whole nother menu.
That would be nice.
That would crazy.
Definitely be nice. That would be crazy too, to go another full circle back to the
Right?
roots. Yeah. So, what does like a regular day in your life look like?
There is no regular day. I think as a business owner, it's like
that.
You might wake up and you might be a plumber today. You might be an electrician today. You wake up and you kind of have to go with the flow of what. I mean, you have your due diligence of what you need to take care of, but as far as the things that come up, man, that's up
It's
to
up in there all the time.
But I do have like my routines as far as like how my morning starts. Usually it's like 5 a.m. if it's inventory day, because I have to go and do that myself in the mornings. If not, then usually starts around 6 or 7, and always with the dogs, because I have 2 dogs, and they require a lot of attention, especially the bulldog, the English bulldog. Yeah. Well, you have one, so your parents do, right?
Yeah, my parents have one.
Yeah, they're special. So I deal with that, and then usually by then, like, my kids are waking up, and my son, he cooks with me every morning. So we always make breakfast together. My daughter, she's not quite old enough yet, but we'll cook breakfast together, and then we'll sit down, have breakfast, do our activities and stuff, and then usually by the afternoon I'll be getting into the restaurant and working around whatever needs to be done here. And then I'm a late how do you say, like a night owl? Mm-hmm. So I usually stay up pretty late to like 2 or 3,
really?
Working on like background, like business background stuff. And that just happens to be because that's just how my schedule is now. Would I be able to do it differently? Maybe later on. But early morning, late night.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I love that you brought up that there's no routine to being like a business owner. There really isn't. Even if you would like to, like, obviously you can wake up at the same time, but you don't know exactly. You can get a random phone call like, hey, the stove stopped working, or like the plancha stopped working, the flat top, or, and so then you got to go check that out. You got to call the maintenance guy, or somebody called in right now. So then you got to cover. And then so it's always like a different thing. Obviously it's a blessing and we love it, but I don't think you could ever be like, oh, this is what I'm going to do this day. And then, you can try to plan ahead and try to keep that under control, but it's always going to be a different variable. It's always going to be a different variable, especially if you have employees.
I noticed that the days that I actually try to plan out is the days when I get like bombarded with the most things, out of the blue. So I just try to tell myself, all right, we'll try to get it done, but we'll see what happens.
What do you think is like the biggest thing that you would want? You said you are a mom of 2, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think is like the biggest thing that you would want them to take away from you being a business owner and you working so hard for your passions and your dreams?
I think what I would want my children to take away the most is that they can do anything in their lifetime. Mm-hmm. Anything. Yeah. And at the end of the day, they just can't be scared. Right. And there's no such thing as failure. It's just really starting over. Yeah. It's just starting over. And you can't be afraid of that. Mm-hmm. Just keep it pushing and make it happen. Yeah. Yeah.
I really, honestly, I'm a big believer in like, there is no such thing as failure. Mm-mm. Literally, there's not, No. Every time that you feel like you fail, there's always a learning lesson behind that. And there's always room to grow.
Oh, 100%.
Because maybe you're trying something that nobody else has, and then that's the reason that you, quote unquote, failed, Mm-hmm. And so since there's no blueprint there, then you might have to go through more obstacles than most people. But isn't that like the beautiful part about it is like the process?
Yes.
You know, the process in which it took to get here.
Yes.
Wasn't that like the beautiful part?
Yes.
And obviously, like, we're still in an ongoing process every day.
Yes.
But I think the process in which we, or what it takes to get to our goals, I think that's like the most beautiful part. And that's what really makes us us.
Yeah.
Right?
When I was actually, that reminds me of when I was in the food truck, one of my cooks in there, Carlos, we were talking about just cooking in general. And we came up with like the most beautiful part about cooking is the process.
Yes.
Because if you change that, it just changes the results. And you cannot change the process when it comes to a dish because it'll change the outcome of it. And that just stuck with me ever since then. And whenever I think about cooking or when I think about a dish, I just think about the fact that like there was a process to come to this. You know, I'm not a picky eater at all. I'll eat anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's the most amazing part. And my parents too. I mean, we moved around a lot, so we were back and forth here, Colima, and different places, and I went to a lot of schools before high school. So I think I went to about 10 different schools.
Really?
And so they really, like, by showing me, demonstrated that you cannot be afraid to start over. And you just got to be able to get up and go and make it happen. And even though we moved around a lot and I went to different schools, it didn't feel like that at all. I felt pretty well, like, grounded in everywhere we went.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's
so
good. Do you think that was like because of your parents and them like comforting you and being able to give you that love? And
I think just that stability that, like, again, at the end of the day, we're going to gather and still have our dinner.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're still going to do things as a family. We're going to still get everybody together regardless of where we're at on the weekends and barbecue and go camping 20 people deep. And you know what I mean? So yeah,
I really like that.
Huh?
Yeah, I like that. I
Yeah.
love that about our culture too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it just always felt wholesome.
Yes.
Regardless of where we were at, it just felt wholesome.
Yeah. Moving a lot can be tough, but when you come from like good roots and you have good morals and everything, I think that makes everything easier for you. You know?
For sure.
Yeah. So owning a restaurant, it requires you to be able to work under pressure, obviously.
Yes.
Did your background in therapy help you at all with that? Do you think that the process in which you got there, do you think that helped?
I think it helped tremendously because doing therapy was its own process too. But when I got into my master's, it really shifted the techniques, and it really got deeper into the psychological aspect of it. And so during that aspect, I had to learn a lot about myself. And I think that a lot of people that own their business lose a little bit of themselves. You know what I mean? They kind of disassociate.
Yes.
And stress gets the best of you, and all these factors get the best of you. So I did think I had a little bit of an advantage in that aspect, but I had to relearn some of those skills myself that I would teach people because it is a whole nother world. And so I did find myself, feeling stressed out. There's just a lot that happens. People give you negative feedback. People give you negative, not just the feedback, but the energy that comes with it. And so it does create a lot of self-doubt. But that was something I had to work through. And with my background, I was able to like kind of overcome that.
That's so cool that you bring that up too. I think that's why it's so important to have somebody and people around you that are positive too.
Yes.
Because sometimes it is hard for us as humans to be positive every single day and be like, hey, like we're gonna hit this goal and we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that, and everybody's gonna be on board with it. Sometimes it's not gonna be like that. But if you have people around you that are positive and they could tell you like, hey, like I think you're being a little bit negative, or I don't think you're looking at it in the right way, they can help you with that. Because that definitely happened to me, where I was like stuck in the loop of being a little bit negative about the business, and like when at the beginning, right now we're
Yeah.
but at the beginning it can be very hard to stay positive, for sure.
Well, and it's very lonely. You're by
Yes.
yourself.
Yeah.
This is, I don't have partners in this business.
Yeah.
It's me by myself, and so it does become what is it, a solo trip, like
Yes.
and you have to ride that wave, and you have to be your biggest cheerleader, and only you show up at the end of the day. And yeah, people come and go, and there's great people, there's bad people, but you're gonna be there. So you're gonna be there, so you have to stay true to yourself for sure, and be honest with yourself. You can't lie to yourself about things. And I don't know if you're a believer in like fake it till you make it.
Yes.
You are?
To a certain extent, yes. I understand what you're saying. Yeah. So like you have to believe it yourself before.
Yeah.
I would tell myself that people were going to drive 4 hours, 5 hours to visit Juanitos. I would tell myself that. I would tell my cashier that, and I would tell my butcher that before it actually ever happened.
Yeah.
I would tell them. So I guess in a way that was kind of like, hey, like this is going to happen. I can see it right here.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time.
Exactly.
And so I think that is a little bit of like, fake it till you make it. Like,
yeah.
so they believe it. And so they have that in their brain, like, dang, like now it's happening. He said it before it happened. So
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit of that.
Okay.
Or what did you mean?
Well, I think that's a good like perspective on that. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Because I think when people fake it to make it, they're just going with the flow of things up until it catches on, or they catch on to it. You know what I mean? And I think that doing things blindly will leave you in a blind spot.
Right.
And so there's a lot of things that you should not fake till you make it. You shouldn't take a job where your intentions aren't to be there. And you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. Like things like that. But I like your perspective on it, because it's a positive one.
Yeah.
It is. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, I had to be a little bit different with my business too. And you're obviously doing things very, very different from most businesses out here too. But I had to be different in terms of like, I had to get people to buy in, like, we're going to sell meat at $100 a pound. Like, and they've never done it, and I had never done it, but like, we're going to do this. And so like, that's what I had to, and maybe our customers are not here, but they're going to travel, and we're going to grow big on social media and stuff like that. So I would tell them that to encourage them, and so they could learn that like, okay, like he's not only like resilient by his words, but he's here every day offering it to people, and like not like throwing it in their face like, hey, you should buy this, but like, hey, you should try this because I really like it. I tried it. It changed my life. Yeah. You know what I mean? Not like, oh, it's not like if we make more money off of Wagyu than the other cuts.
Right.
Like, it's the same margin, but this is my passion, and I would love to share it with you. Yeah. Yeah. And
that educational piece, I think that's the biggest thing is just changing the game for people that haven't experienced it. You know what I mean? A lot of people go in and probably have expectations, and you just blow it out of the park for them. Yes. Because they weren't expecting that, And so yeah, you met a demand that people didn't know that they needed. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's how we connected too, through Wagyu.
No, so you actually showed up to the food truck. So you showed up to the food truck. You were doing the sales pitch. So you showed up. Gosh, yeah. So you were a salesman. So you showed up, and I remember because that was like 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I was going through a lot of trial and tribulations with I'm not gonna name butchers. One of my cooks, Lupe. And
Not your mom? I think your mom was there one day.
was she
that I
there the
went.
day that you went?
No, definitely, because I went like 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met your mom.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she was always in and out, popping in and out.
Mm-hmm.
But the other person was Lupe. She was always there. She's actually from Manzanillo too. But no, I remember you showed up and I was like, Juanito. I was like,
That's
okay.
crazy.
And I was like, you know what? I think this is a sign because I just fired my last butcher. And I'm telling you, when I said I went through trial and tribulations, I mean, I went through like 5 different places.
Yeah.
And it was,
I believe it.
yeah, it was bad. It was bad. It was so bad. I mean, I couldn't get consistency on my cut.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get consistency on the meat.
Yeah.
They looked at me and they were like, oh, you know, this chick, like she doesn't know what we're gonna give her. You know what I mean?
Really?
So they would give me cuts and then I would eat it and I'd be like, this is not Dios mío, this is not Chuck, this is, you know. And then they would come back and be like, no, we did give you that. And then I'd talk to somebody else and be like, that's not what I gave her. And I said, so why am I paying for this and you're giving me something else and this is cheaper meat? And like, I don't, yeah. So it was, people really try to
difficult.
get me. And then you showed up. And then I was like, I remember, because I'm like, I don't know if this guy knows what he's talking about. So I was
Oh
like,
my God.
yeah. So you're like, so
Yeah.
what cut do you use for your asada? And I was like, well, we use chuck. And then you're like, why don't you use this? And I said, I've tried that and I didn't like it. And then I was like, try the meat. And I gave you a sample and you tried it. You tried a little bit of it.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah. And then I was like, why didn't he eat the rest? I'm like, did he not like it or what was it? And then I was like, okay, I'll go check you guys out. And then we've been with you guys ever since.
I think you at first. I think it's coming back to me. I think at first you were using pierna,
No,
bottom round,
top.
but that comes from the pierna.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So bottom round is from the pierna.
Yes.
It's from the leg.
Yes.
And it's tougher.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I was the one that convinced you to switch to shoulder,
Yes.
to espaldilla.
Yes. But
Right?
the difference for me was the cut.
Oh, the
So
cut.
I told you I didn't want to do espaldilla because it was fatty and gritty. And then we talked about how I wanted my cut to be small. So I was doing top brown because our cooking method, our process for the asada, we wouldn't let it get tough. So it would get nice and chewy. And then the other part was that I was with Brian and Pasco at the time, and they were cutting it just how I wanted it. And
Yeah.
so it was working out for me. But then they sold, then I wasn't able to get
Yes.
the same cuts. And then that's when you came into the play and I said, okay, I'll try it. And I tried it. And then I was like, I just need the cut smaller.
Yeah.
And honestly, that is what set you guys apart from everybody. Was that you guys accommodated me with my cut because
Yeah.
every butcher complained to me that I was being too like demanding and tedious
Yeah.
because they would have to go in and hand cut because it was so small,
Yeah.
and you guys were the only ones that would do it.
Yeah, so I remember the reason that I started going out and looking for customers was because we were in like a little bit of a slower time. And I actually kind of wanted to prove myself to my dad. I wanted to prove myself to my dad that I could get customers. And so that's why I went out and like I started talking to customers and
Yeah.
I remember that. And thank to God, you know, like
Oh,
we
yeah.
got you and this
Yeah.
is the reason, you know, one of the reasons that you're here.
And I'm glad
Yeah.
because I mean back then we weren't doing the same volume we're doing here,
Right.
but you guys kept up with me.
Yeah.
And you guys have been there through the growth, and it shows
Yeah.
in the numbers, you know? I'm not ordering 20 pounds now. I'm ordering, wait, I mean, this
Say
is
it,
like,
say
yeah,
it.
no, what? No, I'm up in like the 300-400s a week.
It's nice.
And that's not including
good.
other cuts like lenguas
Yeah. Mm.
and other things that we get from you guys. That's just like pure asada.
Yeah. Yeah, you could definitely see the volume changes too. Right? And the staff too. Like you have a big team.
Oh man, that was a challenge in itself. Yeah, we went from 3 to 4 at the food truck to 22, 25 in the restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I know you said that it's way different too, and I understand why. It's because volume and then the staff and everything. How many employees did you say you have?
Right now we have 21.
21. Oh dang. So like morning, and do you have like a night shift or like a evening shift?
We kind of have like two shifts, yeah, like
Yeah.
opening and then closing shift, and then we throw in like a mid shift
Nice.
for busier days. But that number is probably going to grow here come summertime,
Nice.
just because our patio opens, and then we're doing that's like triple the size of inside. So yeah, we go through a lot, and we also have like different events that we put out throughout the summer and stuff.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
So the car show, and then you guys
Yes.
had a DJ.
Yeah, so we're with the patio we have like stage, so we're gonna be doing music. This year we're gonna start off with like the Valentines. That's only gonna be inside, but then come Cinco de Mayo we're gonna have an event, and we have some fun stuff coming up for that, and then we have the cars and tacos. So that goes on throughout the whole summer. I'm putting in my dates for that right now with the city to get approved because we closed down the street. And so we fill the whole street with cars, and we have a DJ for that. Last year we teamed up for the first time with OK Auto Sales and did the Day of the Dead event in the street, and that was phenomenal. So I hope we do it again this year. And yeah, so we have quite a few things like that.
Exciting things coming.
Yeah,
I
for
know a
sure.
lot of businesses around here. We wait for summer
Yes.
to do like the bigger events, obviously, because everybody's out and about, and
Mm-hmm.
people are just seem to be like in a better mood when the sun's out, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's for
And
sure.
I think it's a big thing that you guys have a patio. I think that's huge. I
Oh,
think that's
yeah.
a game changer for sure.
Yeah, we are the only place in downtown Kennewick that has an actual patio.
Nice.
So yeah,
That's huge. Yeah, and I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? Sorry.
You're fine.
Brain fart. So you hired DJ Clout and DJ Geo Boomin, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
they did an event in our patio. So that was really interesting. They came to me and they talked to me about the idea, and I was like, house music, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I listened to it. My fiance loves it. And then I had a couple of people that were like, yeah, we need something like that, you know? And I was like, but how's this going to work? And so we did a trial one in the patio, and it was like the middle of the summer, perfect weather, everything. And it was just a hit. Like, it was a hit. I think there was a few things that we would want to do different moving forward, but more on the like promotion side of it. We need to get it more on social media and get it out there. But other than that, I mean, the crowd was great. I was a little nervous at first because it's a whole kind of like having that bar dance aspect is different, and so you draw different crowds. There's different demands, but it went great. I think for the first one that we did, the amount of people that we got and everything, it was like such a, how do I put it together? Like everything just kind of fell together. And so we were able to see like, okay, if we triple this, if we double this, then this is what we're going to need. And this is what we're going to need. This is what's sold. This is what people wanted. And so it gave me the idea of like what to have in our kitchen, how late to have it open, what to have for drinks. All those little things.
Yeah, I think you guys have a really good thing going too with the drinks. All the drinks that I've tried here are really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then the tequila Maya too, that you guys have it, and it's kind of exclusive right now.
It is
very exclusive.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he actually came here. I met him. He was doing an interview with Business Journal. They interviewed him here, and I was like, "What are they doing?" And I saw an empty bottle of tequila on the table, and I'm like, oh, liquor board, like what if they show up? So I went and tried to figure out what was happening, and came to find out that he was putting out his own tequila, and we got talking and stuff. But tequila, I enjoy it personally. I love tequila. I'm not a huge fan of like mixed drinks. I'm kind of like the whiskey connoisseur, but for tequila.
Nice.
And so I want to have a huge variety of tequilas. for people to try or sample. And we have a couple of things in the works that I think are going to allow people to do that. Once our new menu is out, we're going to do like Tequila Tuesdays.
Ooh.
So straight tequila, all tequilas, half off. But they have to be
Really?
straight. You can't mix it into a drink.
That's
And
crazy.
so we're going to do like half off tequilas just on Tuesdays. But yeah, and same thing with whiskeys. I love whiskeys too. So we're going to have a few of high-end whiskeys. For Valentine's, we're putting out like the habiki with the gin and the whiskey as well.
Nice.
So
That sounds fun.
Yeah. So pretty excited.
How'd you get into like tasting different tequilas? Like what kind of got you into that?
Well, I mean, I'm Mexican, so
There you go.
and
That's a good reason.
so that's one.
Yeah.
Two, I mean, I've tried like all the spirits, right? So I tried vodka, kind of went into more. It was okay, but it wasn't like for me. It felt a little bit heavier because of, like the wheat in it and all that. Whiskeys for me are very sweet. And so I enjoy it a little bit every once in a while. It depends on what I'm eating with. But gin is like a punch. So for me, I'm like, it has to be in a really good kind of drink.
Right.
And tequila, I'm like, I don't need anything with it.
Yeah.
Anything. And it goes with everything. Like, and then you
I would
have them
agree.
aged differently. So like, then I started reading up on the different agings of it and like, what does silver mean? Reposado, what does añejo, what does cristalino mean? And like, once I got into all of that, then I was like, okay, let me start tasting these. And all of a sudden it was like, I was tasting food.
Right.
And every tequila, every aging, every brand is just different.
Completely different.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what's beautiful about the process of tequila too, because everything is gonna have like a different product.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of people that are like, oh, it's just it's just a shot or whatever. It's like, oh, but I know that there's different flavors and there's some that are smoother than others. And the tequila Maya, when I tried it, I was like, oh, okay, this reminds me a lot of the Don Julio 70.
Yes.
But it has its own like creamy flavor too.
Yes.
So yeah.
And and that's what he was because when we talked about price point, he was competing with that.
Yeah.
And so so I was nervous for him because I'm like, how do you sell something that you're going to bring in more on the high end without people knowing it? And tequila is a really hard thing to sell because
Yes.
you can't sample it.
Yeah.
And so, but as soon as we got it in, I started giving samples to people so they can actually try it. And then they just fell in love with it, and then they knew where to source it, and so it was just it played in everybody's favor because I wanted people to experience it, just kind of like you with Wagyu, but so, and I think for me too, like I don't know, tequila, like I said, tequila is more like a sipping, you know what I mean, like you can taste the notes, kind of like people with wine.
Yeah, I would agree. I like that you're supporting somebody that's local too. Because I know that he's pretty passionate about his brand, his tequila and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
He's got huge plans for it too. Because
Oh, yeah.
I've spoke to him about it, and hopefully he hops on the podcast here soon.
Oh yeah,
That would be fun. That would be interesting.
for sure.
And but I love this conversation. I appreciate you for inviting us to your space, your business. You're doing a great job here.
Thank you.
I love what you're doing. I love that you're supporting us too.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're a great person and you're a great role model for your kids and for the community. I appreciate you for having this conversation with us.
Thank you. I appreciate you for having me on here.